Hi, welcome to this news episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adeep Mahmood, with my normal co-host, Hunter. And today I'm going to be recapping a little bit about the Super Bowl. Hunter's going to be talking a little bit about hockey. We're going to talk about Alex Bregman and his contract with the Red Sox. And also, does Virginia Tech have a leading candidate for offensive coordinator? And we'll talk a little bit about their start of their baseball season. So let's start with the Super Bowl. That game was not as close as the score indicated. But what were your thoughts on the game?
I mean, I think we all got the result we wanted to see, but it was a terrible game to watch. I mean, the Eagles dominated them on both sides of the ball. Patrick Mahomes, that's the worst I think I've seen him play in over 4 years. Honestly, going back to the
Tampa
Super Bowl against Tampa, yeah, this is the second worst game I've ever seen him play outside that game against Tampa. Like even when he was in the pocket, no pass rush around him, you could tell he was spooked. You could tell he was really uncomfortable by the Eagles rushing for, and he was just not making the right reads. He was stepping up when he didn't need to step up, kind of going into pressure too often. The interceptions that he threw were also really piss poor. Just a really bad game from him. And that's something that you really had not seen this year. Heck, as I said, you haven't really seen him play at this level in so long. And when he plays like that, you really have no shot. And credit to Vic Fangio and that Eagles defense. They were tremendous throughout. Vic Fangio, one of the top defensive coordinators in the league, has been for quite some time. You saw it on display. He had that unit ready to play. And that unit's one of the best defenses in the league. And there's going to be players from that unit that get paid like Milton Williams. There's going to be a lot of teams that need a pass rusher this offseason. They're going to give him a boatload of cash. I think he's going to leave Philadelphia. But the thing is, we're great at replacing those players. Like the Eagles are so good at drafting. They're so good at developing. They have the best general manager, I think, in the sport right now in Howie Roseman. They'll be totally fine heading into next year. Offensively, they confused Steve Spagnuolo in that Chiefs defense. Jalen Hurts was very, very good through the air and on the ground. Saquon Barkley didn't even have to do much in this game. That's the scary thing. He wasn't even that good. He was kept in check. It's just the Eagles' offense outside of him was so good. Devontae Smith made plays. A.J. Brown made plays. Jalen Hurts made plays both in the pass and in the run game. And when you get all of that, plus you get a dominant defense where you get a pick six as well, I mean, that game was over at halftime. Truly. Like, I didn't think there was going to be a 28-3 comeback at halftime because of the way the Eagles were dominating on both sides of the ball. So, bad game to watch, but I think everyone got the result they wanted to see outside of Kansas City. And this is a great Eagles team. Congratulations to them. They were outstanding throughout the year. And yeah, those are really my main thoughts. Also, if I want to add one more, Patrick Mahomes is going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. Indeed, how about we pump the brakes on the GOAT talk for a bit, though? I think we got to pump the brakes a bit.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Brady's worst performances in the Super Bowl, he's been better in his worst than Mahomes. And look, Mahomes, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks when it's all said and done. All said and done. But, man, I mean, look, he had, between this and the Tampa Bay one, if you can rattle him, you can really spook him. Like, that's the thing. It's also really funny. Cooper DeJean got a pick six on his birthday. I turned to my friend and fully tongue-in-cheek said, man, I thought DEI was a bad thing.
Oh, God, Jesus.
But no, like, that was cool to see him.
Mm-hmm. It was awesome. Like, it was a really nice play that he made on the ball. He was able to return that. He was great for the Eagles this year, as was that entire defense.
Zach Bond had a nice interception there as well. The Eagles clearly were more focused. I don't know if Kansas City was like, oh, we're going to 3P, and they were kind of coasting a little bit. I mean, Travis Kelce wasn't making much of an impact, and then I think he'll play maybe 1 or 2 more years. Like, I think that he can't go out on this note, but it is going to be something like you kind of said everything. The Eagles defense stifled everyone. The Eagles defense stifled the Kansas City, and I mean, Kansas City last few years, it seems like since Tyreek Hill's gone, they've tried to do the receivers are kind of overvalued. So we're going to strengthen our defense. We're going to we're going to spread the wealth. And I think what we're seeing is with if you can put pressure on Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that strategy might not work as much because they don't have they have great toolsy receivers. They got great toolsy receivers, but it just kind of seems like they definitely are going to be contending, but I think that they have some kinks in their armor.
I think they're going to be really hot in the receiver market this offseason. I don't think they have a choice at this rate. Yeah, it's great. You won the 2 Super Bowls without these last 2, without a true top number 1 guy. I think that's going to change this offseason. I think they're going to go out there and try to get the next wide receiver 1, Tyreek Hill. Xavier Worthy, I think he's a really good wide receiver too. I don't think he's a 1 on a contending team. That's why I think there's a lot of good wide receivers that are going to hit the market, both free agency wise and trade market wise. I think the Chiefs will get one of them. I really do. Do not be surprised if they give T. Higgins a lot of money if they can afford him, because I think that would open up a lot of different avenues on their offense. I think they'll be in the trade market if they can't get Higgins. I think this is the offseason where you see them go out and get a big time wide receiver.
Yeah. And you have Debo, he's going to be in a trade rumors.
Cooper Kupp.
Yep. Cooper Kupp's going to be in there as well. So I think they need to go after receivers. Now, granted, they are probably not in the greatest space salary cap wise, but I think if I'm Veach, if I'm Brett Veach, if I'm Kansas City, I'm basically treating this as the next 2 to 3 years are my window. It's I'm not planning 5 years in advance. I'm not doing the thing where I take a step back for a year or two to then build. I'm going all in for the next 2 or 3 years for the prime of Mahomes, the however many years left you have of Kelsey. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And then if it comes down to it, then maybe a year or two you start to kind of retool at other spots. But then, yeah, they have to make an effort on one of these guys. Let's talk about let's talk about some baseball before we move on to Virginia Tech. Mainly, the big thing is just Alex Bregman. He goes to the Red Sox, 3 years, $120 million. He apparently deferred money. And I thought it was a good move by Boston. $40 million is a lot of money. And part of me is thinking he wanted a 6 or 7 year deal, but no team was giving it to him, or the teams that wanted to give it to him, he had no interest. I think the Tigers were one of those teams. So he saw the Red Sox were offering $40 million a year. I'll take that. But it is a good move. And maybe Bregman is in that stage of his career. Take these highly lucrative short-term deals. I do think it's a little weird that Devers is a worse defender at third base, and Bregman's a better defender at third base, but Bregman might be playing second. But I thought it was a good move by them. It strengthens their lineup. It really makes things complicated because you do have a couple of nice prospects. Maybe you let Bregman walk. But I think Boston has done it quietly. They've pretty good offseason. They traded for Garrett Crochet. They signed Walker Buehler. Patrick Sandoval is coming back in second half of the year. He could be helpful for I thought it was a good move. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like it for the Red Sox. I think it's a move that they're trying to win now heading into this year. They're trying to get back to the playoffs. Bregman, I still couldn't believe was on the market for this long. I think he's still one of the better players in the sport.
I think he had 5 or 6 years. I think that was a big thing.
I do think if he has a good year this year, he could opt out and try to go get more money next year, because I think you mentioned it. There's an opt out after every year in his contract, which is smart for his part. Again, if he has a good year this year, he can opt out, be a free agent, try to get more money, more bit of term from another team. Now, if he's not as good this year, he can try doing that again in the second year, opt out then. The same thing will repeat itself. But it bolsters their lineup. It gives them more depth. It gives them more of a home run pop, especially inside Fenway Park. So really good move from Boston. They've been pretty aggressive this offseason in a few ways, Adit. So they're definitely trying to, get back into the AL East race here, heading into the season. It's going to be a really tough division, obviously, with the Yankees. I know they lost Soto, but they're still going to be up there. the Orioles, of course, the Blue Jays. I know that the running meme with them striking out on so many top free agents is there, but they're still going to want to try to compete. The Rays as well. It's going to be a really competitive division, and I'm excited to see what happens. Also, should point out, Pete Alonso goes back to the Mets, so I think that's a good move from him. I guess he wasn't able to get a lot of term and a lot more money elsewhere, so going back to a place that you know what you're going to get out of him as well. I think that's a good move from him.
Yeah, didn't the Nationals just sign someone today?
Yeah, they signed Paul DeJong today, so I think it's fine for depth purposes. He's not going to be an everyday player for them. Indeed, he had 24 combined home runs last year on a couple of teams, so that's fine. They need more players that can hit the long ball because like last year wasn't nearly as good as a lot of other teams. So I'm fine with that type of depth option. He can play all over the infield, which is fine with me.
Yeah, and I think the Orioles really haven't done much. They brought in Roman Laureano, good defender, can hit left-handed pitching. We'll see if they make a move. It's going to be pretty tough. I think it's probably more of a reliever, or maybe they sign like a Rutschman to an extension. That could be the thing. But let's move on to Virginia Tech. So two big things here for Virginia Tech. We don't know if this guy's going to be the offensive coordinator, but they are targeting Bill's assistant, Christian Taylor, who was the offense coordinator for William & Mary for a few years. Really innovative run game guy, what it looks like. And from Virginia. So he was a quarterback. I believe he's from the region. But what were your thoughts when you saw this name?
Kind of out of left field, just kind of the same thing as, Sam Cephas with the defensive coordinator search, right? It feels like these names that get thrown out there, they're not the ones that get hired. You always have to look elsewhere. But Christian Taylor, he was actually the FCS Assistant Coach of the Year, I believe, in 2022. So that's also really solid. Like he was able to elevate a William & Mary offense, which has historically not been that great. So the fact that he was able to win that award just a few years ago shows that he is capable of putting good offenses on the field. Now he just has to do that for a Power 5 school. And again, these are big hires, especially because I feel like this is a make or break year for Brent Pry. But, when I dove into, the offense he types to run, it's similar to Kyron Jones' strength. It's an RPO, a lot of RPO stuff. He likes to run the quarterback quite a bit. That's what Kyron Jones likes to do. The VT has been a running team these last few years of the Brent Pry era. Like, that's been the main thing. Like, they run to open up the pass. That's what I see here when I look deeper into the numbers for his offense as a D. He runs a lot. He opens up the pass. This isn't going to be an air raid offense or anything like that. I know Neil Brown of West Virginia was thrown out there, but I think he has quite a few reasons why he doesn't want to get back into coaching, mainly number one being money, because he's getting a crap ton of money from West Virginia to not do anything after they fired him. But I think you're going to see a similar type of offense, a run first, but there's obviously going to be some change up. I think you'll see some triple option elements in there. It's not going to be like Paul Johnson from Georgia Tech or anything like that, but you're still, how do I want to say this? You're not going to see these drastic changes for the players. It's not going to be an air raid. You're passing every down, anything like that. Like, they're going to pass enough, but they're still going to be a running team. The fundamentally part of that offense is not going to change.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think apparently him and Cephas, they're creative schemes. I think that's the big thing. And look, when you have a coach like Brent Pry who doesn't have the best job security right now, it's going to very much limit who you can bring in. I do like the fact that these are NFL. These guys went from college to the NFL, back into college. I do like that.
By the way, 2023 FCS assistant, not 22. Just want to clarify.
Okay. But yeah, I think he does. He looks like he fits the offense. Does not seem like he is an old school. Like, he is stubborn. I do like the hire. I do like the hire if it does happen. And also if you think about it, this makes sense. Like, when you saw that they went out, got a younger NFL experienced guy for defense coordinator, that's probably where they were going to go offensively. The other news with Virginia Tech is that Virginia Tech baseball season started. So right now, They are so they started on Friday. They were 1-1. They started off the season. They won 19-0 against Bucknell. Then they lost 8-6. That was a doubleheader. And now today, it is now bottom of the 6th inning, 1 out, and Virginia Tech is up 23-1.
Jesus.
And they were up 18-0. They were up.
It's you're winning a series like this against Bucknell, but I think if you were mentioning this before we started recording, if their pitching can at least be decent this year, this has a chance of hopefully being a good team again. And I remember that run, to the College World Series just a few years ago when they were in the regionals and super regionals and stuff. That was such a fun team to watch with all that MLB talent on there, Adit. So I'm excited to see what this team can do this year. Also, for basketball, I like how Mike Young's team plays their butts off every game. Like they already have 6 ACC wins. No one predicted them to have that many heading into this year. Obviously, the conference is not very good. They probably should have beaten Virginia the second time, even though they beat them the first time, but they probably should have won this game as well. I can at least respect this team. Despite not being that talented, Mike Young is able to get a whole lot out of them, and I think it shows that he's still a very good coach.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share this. I'm just okay. Cool. All right. Let me share. Okay. Cool. So this was a home run that was hit. Man, this is loud.
Garrison Bullock. The 2-1 pitch is clobbered. Towering drive, deep left. You can forget about it.
Let's listen to the exit.
Sam Tackett putting together one of his best weekends in a Tech uniform. That ball was destroyed. 499 feet, 114 miles an hour off the bat. I say it again, 499 feet on the tracking data that we are getting in the booth. He's done it again.
Yeah, that was a 3-run. That was 3 of those runs.
That's ridiculous. That's almost a 500-foot home run in a college stadium. And that thing exploded off the bat, too. Like, you knew right away that thing was gone. That was just a beautiful home run.
Yeah, and let me see this. Holy smokes, it is now 27-1.
Like, you can honestly just call the game there, honestly.
Grand Slam. Grand Slam just happened.
That's crazy. Hey, I'll take the blowout wins anytime you can get them, but that's always fun. I hope that they continue playing like this. Obviously, it's going to be tougher against better competition, of course, especially in the ACC. But it's nice seeing them play like this. If you want to, we can end the show with the USA Canada stuff. This was the NHL's weekend, man. I mean, the NFL season's over. NBA All-Star weekend, but I don't know how many people are actually watching that. Baseball hasn't started yet.
Matt McClung played one game in this year. And he won the dunk contest. That's how sad it is.
The hockey world had everyone's attention on Saturday. USA Canada, first time best on best in 9 years. And that game delivered. You had 3 fights in the first 9 minutes. You then had Canada take a 1-0 lead thanks to Connor McDavid, who was the best player on the planet. USA strikes back to go up to tie it 1-1, and they take the lead 2-1 in the second period. And then they smother Canada in the third period. The head coach of Team USA is the Pittsburgh Penguins head coach. That's the team I do a podcast for, Locked On Penguins. And you could see the 2016 Penguins come out in that team. And what I mean by that is the way they were able to shut down Canada, the way they were able to smother them, go into a 1-2-2 neutral zone trap, and not really give Canada any scoring chances. That's exactly what the Penguins did in 2016. And I know Sullivan has not been as good of a coach these last couple of years for the Penguins, but when he has the right personnel, his system works. And you saw that on display on Saturday night. But the entire world was watching, especially the United States. I think the ratings for that game were going to be insane. It had taken almost a decade to get best on best hockey back. And yeah, I know it's only 4 nations, but this is a really good appetizer to the main course next year, which is the Winter Olympics. And the NHL players are going back to the Olympics next year. You'll have the Czech players going back, Germany, We'll have to see on Russia. That's contingent on a whole bunch of things happening. You'll have potentially Latvia going there as well. Obviously, the 4 nations participating in this, but this is really exciting, man. And that was some electric hockey on Saturday. If you're not watching this, do yourself a favor and go tune in, because this was a tremendous game. The final round robin games are on Monday. Team USA has clinched a spot in Thursday's championship game. It's probably going to be USA-Canada again. If Canada is able to beat Finland on Monday, they will advance to the championship game. But if they don't, a whole bunch of different scenarios could work itself out where one of Finland or Sweden goes to play the US in the championship game. So a lot of fun. Next games are on Monday. Again, man, this is hockey at its very best, in my opinion. So just wanted to shout out that 4 Nations game. It was a lot of fun. And these players, when they put their national jerseys on, it's balls to the wall, 60-minute effort, and it's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, so on that note, we'll end the show. We'll be back in a couple weeks. It's a slower period.
Yeah.
So we'll come back in a couple weeks. See you then.